With the FPS group turning 10, we decided we were going to start doing some videos on should you buy or reviews for your business, so that you can learn some of the things we have had to over the past 10 years. And either if you're looking to set up a business, implement them, or you're looking to scale a business. So I set up the FPS group when I was 18, and we're now 10 years on. The company has gone from strength to strength. Now I do hope the sound is okay, because my road bike had run out of battery, so we are filming just with a normal microphone. But I wanted to do a review of the Volkswagen Amarok. So this is the second one we've had as a business. It's a 2020 on a 70 plate, and I think I'm one of the only people in the country to have a 70 plate Amarok. I managed to get a really good deal on it in 2020 when people weren't really buying cars because of the pandemic, and I was told that all the Amaroks had to be registered before the 70 plate came out, and I was talking to two different dealers, managed to get a really good price, and actually this one, they agreed to register it September the 1st, so it's one of the only 70 plates in the country, and it's the one you want. It's the 3 litre with 258 horsepower. Now, I used to have a 66 reg white one, which was a 2 litre bi-turbo 180 horsepower, and actually you would imagine that the 2 litre would be more fuel efficient, but we get better economy out of this 3 litre V6, even though it's got about 80 more horsepower. So the last one was 180 horsepower, 2 litre bi-turbo. This one has 260 horsepower, and actually for technically what is a van or a commercial vehicle, it's really quite fast. When it was released, I remember CarWow doing a lot of drag race videos with it, and it was beating all the sort of other 4x4s, and it's, you know, really quick for a commercial vehicle. But we tend to get around 32 miles to the gallon, and the 2 litre one we only got about 28. So considering it's got more power, it's actually more economical. Now I remember picking this up. I got it from Volkswagen in Volkswagen Van Centre in Derby, who were really helpful, and obviously spec this with the Truckman back as well, which for us makes it a lot more useful. But we do a lot of site surveys as well as towing of equipment and moving things around. And I turned up to a site in it because I was obviously young when I set the company up, but this, you know, was only a couple of years ago. Turned up to a site visit, and the site manager said, "Oh, that's nice. Do they let you out in it often?" And I didn't have the heart to tell him that it was actually my company. We'd got staff all across the UK and are probably the industry leaders on flood risk. So I just sort of said, yeah, whenever I need it, it's handy to have. So it does give off quite a good image in terms of, you know, reputation for the brand. It looks good, but it's not too flash. It's not like you turning up in a Porsche or an Aston Martin, or, you know, even a 4x4 you might have Porsche Macan. It just gives a very different image. This is clearly a working vehicle, but yet very smart. It just gives off a professional look for your company. So should your company buy one? Well, there's lots of obviously tax advantages to having commercial vehicles, but like I say, it does give off a good company image. You can use it for various things, you know, whether you're surveying or actually delivering equipment or towing or moving stuff around. It just has a very different image from turning up in a van. And for us, it's been incredible. We do a lot of towing, which is really the main reason we bought the vehicle. We have to tow equipment to site, and for us working in the flood industry, although, you know, we really wouldn't advise driving into flood water, it does give off the image of actually being prepared for all eventualities. So how does it drive? Well, like I say, it is really quite quick. It does 0 to 60 in 7.4 seconds. I remember when I bought it, I had a GTD at the time, and I think this was actually quicker than my Mark 7 GTD. Obviously not as economical though. And I mean, it really doesn't drive badly. It's a little bit bouncy because it's on leaf springs, but you know, what commercial vehicle isn't? It's obviously built to do a job. You can put a load of stuff in the back and it will still drive fine. In a way, it reminds me a little bit. I used to drive a 2005 Volkswagen Touareg, or Touareg, or however you say it, and it's not that dissimilar. I mean, it's not quite as good as a 4x4, but actually I drove a Range Rover Sport and then hopped into this. And you might think I'm mad, but I just couldn't see how the Range Rover Sport was so much more expensive. This is comfortable, it's got nice leather. The steering wheel's also got nice leather, it's got Apple CarPlay, it's got a really nice 8-speed automatic ZF gearbox mated to a really smooth 3-litre V6 engine with 258 horsepower. It doesn't inspire confidence in the corners, but again, it's not bad. So when you put your foot down, it really does go, and it's not unrefined. I mean, certainly compared with the van. When I was moving house, I'd been using this obviously at work, and then I hired a long wheelbase van, and I just couldn't believe how uncomfortable the seats were in the van, how slow it was, and hopping back in this was like a dream. The other side of things that's been really good is, so I managed to get a really good deal on this, and actually a year later down the line, We Buy Any Car were offering me more money for it than I paid for it. Now, I know car prices have gone up, and this one in particular, because they stopped making it for a while, and they are introducing a new one, so it probably will impact that. But they hold their value incredibly well. So as a business, if you've got money in the bank, actually having one of these, getting the use out of it, you can have it sign written, get the branding, it's probably really not a bad idea. So whilst we're stopped here, what's it like off-road? Now, I once had to drive this up a muddy track, and I have to say it wasn't as good as something like a Discovery. I think probably down to the tyres. However, in the snow, it was really quite good. With both of these, they inspire confidence that I've had. I remember I was driving this in quite deep snow, and apart from obviously braking, it wouldn't stop very quickly. You've got a lot of weight, and obviously, you know, it doesn't necessarily help stopping regardless of your drivetrain. But it does have chunky-ish tyres. You would expect them to grip. And in driving in the snow, it really wasn't bad. It inspired confidence. At no point did I thought I was going to get stuck. And then I hopped out of this because I had to give it to a colleague. And a friend said to me, "It's been snowing, take my car." Now, his was an Audi S5. So this was about 5 years ago. It was when I had the white pickup. So Audi S5, it was a 17 plate, Quattro. And I was expecting it to be absolutely fine, but oh my god, I couldn't have been more wrong. It was like a slip and slide. Admittedly, whilst I went out to pick some friends up in it, there was a really heavy falling of snow, but going up a hill, it was crabbing. I was having to fight it not to hit the curb. The car was all over the place. And to give it its due, I was passing people that were stuck in ordinary cars, and I was having to go up the wrong side of the road to get past them, but it was terrifying. Whereas in this, it wasn't. It was just, you never felt as though there was going to be a problem. So it really did inspire confidence. And you can put it in an off-road mode as well, and then you've got hill descent control. You can change on the auto box, switch it into manual, and help control your speed that way. Compared with something like a Ford Ranger, the tyres on this are obviously a lot more road-focused, sport-focused. I think they've got Conti Sport contact, so clue is in the name. But it does mean it drives very well on the road, and it is quite refined. I can't say that, you know, I'd want to do the same amount of miles in a Ford Ranger or in something, you know, well, certainly in a van. And if you're a company director or you want something that actually you could use every day, although this is a bit big, you could use it every day. I use it quite often. And you've obviously got the tax breaks of commercial vehicles. So it's not, you know, it's not my everyday car. I do have a different car that I use day to day. This is a bit big to park. It's a bit thirsty on fuel if you're using it for sort of everyday driving. But when it's for business use, it really does come into its own. They've obviously just launched a new one, or, you know, is about to come out. I've seen the sort of renders of it, which looks really, really nice. Would I buy another one? Well, at the minute, I have no desire to swap this. I mean, the other one looks really, really nice, yes, but would I spend more money on another one when this does everything so perfectly? Not sure I would. Saying that, I did say when this went in for a service recently to the saleswoman who sold me this, actually, you know, put my name down and let me know when they're out. But thinking logically, would I? I don't know. time will tell. But at least if I know that I want to, this has got really good residuals, should I want to sell it. The wading depth on this is only 500mm, which isn't anywhere near as good as, say, something like a Land Rover Discovery or the Ford Ranger. The new one will have a better wading depth. But when do you really need to go in more than 500mm depth of water? I would always advise not driving into water. There's so many hidden dangers. And unless you were doing some really serious off-roading and you were a sort of hobbyist off-roader, I can't see where you'd actually drive into more water, and not safely anyway. So I'm quite happy with the 500mm wading depth. Now, I've used this to tow as well. This came from the factory with a tow bar, which is one of the reasons I opted for this model. Obviously, I'm a sucker for choosing a car on colour, and I liked this colour. But I went for this particular one because it had a factory-fitted tow bar, and we do a lot of towing, delivering, and helping deploy flood barriers for the likes of water companies, the NHS, Environment Agency, and they can be quite heavy. They come in rapid deployment trailers. You tow them along on the back of this, and the barriers self-deploy. Now, there have been a couple of times towing where I've actually forgotten there's been something on the back because it is so effortless and so relentless with the power. The white 2-litre bi-turbo 180 horsepower was nowhere near as good. Having said that, I used to tow with the Touareg that I said. It was a 2.5 TDI, so nowhere near as much power. I think it was only something like 174, 175 horsepower. But I think that it might have been shorter, or maybe it was the rear suspension or something. It just felt a bit more planted and a bit more secure. It didn't wander around the road as much. This obviously is a lot more powerful for towing, but I actually think, in fact, the tow rate of the Touareg was 3.5 tons, whereas I think on this it's only about 3 or 3.1. So that could be why perhaps it's, you know, better engineered for towing. But this is a great tow car. I've towed with all sorts over the years. Had a Vauxhall Insignia 4-wheel drive that, even though it was the fastest one, you could really tell there was something on the back. It was incredibly slow. The slightest bit of wind would move the whole thing around. Whereas this, it does feel secure, and it is really useful. You know, we use these for training when we're showing deployment. It helped us build our e-learning course. So having the tow bar on this is fantastic. But what about running costs? Well, this is on a fleet policy for insurance, so it works slightly different with a commercial vehicle. But that does mean it's insured for any driver over 25, which is really, really useful. Any of the team can hop in it and use it. Fuel, like I said, about 32 miles per gallon. Not horrendous, I'd like more, but, you know, for the type of vehicle. And servicing, I actually thought was incredibly cheap. Volkswagen rang me up and offered me a service package, which only needs servicing every 2 years. It was a 2-year and a 4-year service. I think it was only about £199, so it's just had its 2-year service. I think the tyres are about £180 to £200 each, but this has done 20,000 miles and it's still on the same set of tyres it came with. So all in all, it's not too bad. I have a couple of times had a warning light come on about a sort of blocked particulate filter, and it says in the manual to basically take it on a long drive, but I can't work that out because it came on after a long drive. But if you hold it at set revs and drive it for 20 minutes at 50 miles an hour, it does clear itself, and Volkswagen weren't too concerned about it. Apparently it's quite common. Anyway, we will be doing more of these videos. Obviously this is a car/commercial vehicle video. We're going to do more things about reviewing everything sort of business related, should you buy, and also other things that are of interest to business owners. I thought on the 10-year journey I'd been on, it was really about time I started sharing more content around how we've done it, because I set it up when I was 18 and I do get asked a lot of questions. Admittedly, one of the hardest things was ensuring the first one of these I got when I was 24. Was I 24? It might have been 20. I think I was 23. So we're definitely going to be doing more content anyway, and I'll see you for the next one. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so that you're notified of our next upload. Thanks, everyone.